It's crazy when you start talking about, and this is part of, and for those on the stream, obviously, we have a guest on the podcast. Carlton is with us. I'll do the full intro for Carlton here in a little bit, but it really is crazy when you see the guys that get drafted and that you remember being drafted, being an adult for, start to retire, and that's what's starting to happen when you're Carlton and I's age. We're both, actually, a fun fact, Carlton and I are a day apart from each other birthday wise in October, which is always pretty fun. But, we're both the same age, 34 years old. And we have a little bit of retirement news with John Wall officially hanging it up. Calling it quits this week. Five-time All-Star, all NBA third team in 26 and 2017, all rookie team in 2010, 2011, all defensive 2014, 2015 season. Obviously spent the majority of his career with Washington. What he'll be the most remembered for, 2010 to 2019. He had a year with Houston, 40 games with Houston. Then, of course, he had this comeback a few years ago with Clippers, 34 games there. Number one overall pick in the NBA draft in 2010. Big time star at the University of Kentucky. I mean, that's where it all broke out. But I don't know, Carlton. Like, I had a buddy ask me if John Wall was Hall of Fame the other day, and I definitely don't think he's that. But I think he's one of those players that, especially as NBA Twitter makes the highlight tapes and the mixtapes and all that, it's going to age well. I think the kids are going to love him because John Wall's peak was high. Like, he was one of the flashiest players in the league.
Right. No, definitely. Its peak definitely was high. Like you said, we're his age. It's what my uncles used to say. My uncles used to tell me, you're not old until the players you start watching become coaches. And hearing John Wall retires and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I remember vividly John Wall going to the league. Matter of fact, fun fact, John Wall was the year that John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins team, Kentucky team, that was the year I became a Kentucky fan because I hate Coach K, and it's Duke and North Carolina. I was like, I don't like either of those. And at the time, Coach K, you remember he was the last one to get the one and done players, yep. And they all came at Calipari for that Memphis team with Derrick Rose and them. So I'm just like, yeah, give me this guy. Give me the guy who wants the one and done players. Like if you have a guy that's good enough to play 1 year, then go to the NBA, give me him. Like, why are you guys turning your nose up to him? So when Calipari left from Memphis to Kentucky, I followed them because I'm a Hurricanes fan, of course, but they weren't good in basketball till a couple years later when they got Larinaga finally be respectable. So they were never really in the tournament. If they were, it was one and done. So yeah, I remember John Wall's whole career and like just hearing he's crazy. I got mad at Washington, Kev, because he could have been a Hall of Famer, but bad organizations like John Wall, we never really got to see John Wall on the biggest stage. We never got to see, obviously, him in the finals or even the conference finals, like ball in his hand, can he carry a team? Because they just put poorly teams around him. The Andre Blatch, the JaVale McGee's, like not to call them dumb, but the low IQ players. So it made me sad. It's just like, yeah, screw Washington for now. I'm going to have some imaginary beef with them because, what couldn't John Wall do? He was fast as lightning. His shooting wasn't there, but it wasn't quite what it is now where everybody's shooting 30-foot threes. So him not being a three-point shooter didn't matter. And he was unselfish. He looked the pass. He set up for other teammates. So John Wall had everything. Like if you build a point guard, you probably are building John Wall with his speed and athleticism. And then he played defense.
Yeah, well, and then making the all defensive team. Like I think if anything, he's a super underrated defender. Like people remember, the dynamic layups, him being able to just get to the lane at will. But he was a 3-level scorer. Like you're right, not a super great 3-point shooter. His best career percentage for any season was 35. There was one where he had 37, but a way smaller sample size. But you're right. I think it's a combo of two things. I think it's the Wizards organization, who, to be fair, I mean, obviously him and Bradley Beal, super dynamic duo. Like you had Beal's athleticism, and we'll talk about that. I think part of it was the injuries more than the organization. Like John Wall, by the time he was 29 years old, missed an entire season with injury. I mean, his last season, he was only 32. Like I know LeBron kind of skews the little bit of aging in the NBA, but like John Wall realistically should have had a much longer career, especially because he came in the league so young. Like he was only 20 years old when he got drafted and was the number one overall pick. Like you said, a one and done at Kentucky. I mean, they were competing for sure. Like they were relevant around, it was them. They were up against the Isaiah Thomas Boston teams, and then they just had your Heat and then the Cavs once LeBron went back to Cleveland. They always had a good squad in Washington. Like, I think, they took Porter overall at 3. He was solid. He never became like a number 3 overall pick, but like I remember the years with him and with Nene and with Gortat, it was like they were never bad teams, but you're right. Like, you never got to see them on that national scale. Whether injuries, whether something else, like it did feel like they were always a piece away. And then obviously, right towards the end of the career, like Washington kind of a mess there roster wise. Like, it felt like that was a real short run at it. The other problem, like anybody else in the East, and that you know all about, is it's just like you become a victim of LeBron a little bit, right? Like, LeBron had such a reign of terror on the Eastern Conference that it's like some of these teams that we may look more highly on, and that history may have looked more favorably on if they get to a conference finals, if they even have that lone finals appearance, that just kind of goes away because you got to play LeBron every single year. So I think there's a little bit of that as well that weighs in.
Yes, no, for sure. And like you said, the injuries played a part. It was funny, for the people who don't know, me and Kev used to work together. And I don't know if you remember, Kev, one of our favorite things used to do is look at old drafts and see, you see back. So when you mentioned Otto Porter, I looked it up to see, like, who did they pass on? Oh, this draft was trash. So it was the Anthony Bennett draft where he goes number 1 and Oladipo goes 2. And then we have, I just do the lottery. Cody Zeller 4, Alex Lynn 5, Nerlens Noel for you guys 6, Ben McLemore 7, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who's still in the league,
right?
Surprisingly.
He'd go high in that redraft.
Yeah, he goes 8, Trey Burke 9, CJ McCollum 10, another one of you guys, Michael Carter-Williams 11, Steven Adams 12, and Kelly Olynyk 13. The big one, which how would they have known, is of course Giannis went 15
right.
in that one.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, right, Giannis is still very much like, I mean, even the first years, because like that was, when we started the pod, that was the first draft. I think like we were coming off that draft or getting ready for that draft, and yeah, right, like Giannis was still like, there was always the if he could be. And it just, even the first 2-3 years, Giannis was still very much a concept. Like, that's why it's remarkable that he's become the world destroyer that he is today, like the MVP caliber candidate, now the first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, the vision was always there. It's just, it was a very much a long game. That is a weird draft. Obviously Giannis number 1 in that redraft. It's a weird draft though. You're right. Like, Oladipo probably should have gone number 1 overall at the time. He still goes high in a redraft, but that's even a guy a little bit who had his career kind of shortened and limited for what it could have been via injuries. And that's kind of like, even with Bradley Beal, like that's the story with those Wizards teams, like going back to John Wall, like it's a team, because even like those last 2 seasons, he was an all-star in 2017. He only played 41 games. Like, after 2017, he didn't play more than 41 games in a season. Like, they were all, the 2012 season, he only played 49. Like, there were a lot of injuries there. And like, we always talk about just in general with the guys who are more athletic, like, and aren't great shooters, that it already is more difficult to age well. And then on top of it, when you put the injuries and add all that in, it was just a perfect storm of fatigue for John Wall. But man, yeah, he's one of those players where if you watched in the early 2010s, just you look at the highlight tapes and you go, yeah, he was absolutely electric. He was a 3-level scorer. He was a great defender. And he just had those moments too. Especially early on in terms of like all the hype around him. He was one of those guys. It all starts with, the dance in the Kentucky intro where he's doing the John Wall, and then he comes out with the greatest Dougie of all time in his first game as a Wizards, like in the uniform as the number 1 pick. Like, they just, those teams will always be remembered as good, not great. And I think history, as we, look back and it ages a little bit over time and we start to go back and look at John Wall's careers, I do think we'll talk about him more as a what if, because that's how he kind of feels to me. Like, I don't feel like he underachieved. I feel like he got kind of robbed of that a little bit in a way.
Right. Agreed. And 2 things. One, I'm going to put you on the spot with a quick question. But the first thing, I know you said later in his career, I wish, we're seeing some of these guys that probably got some left when they leave. I wish we could see more guys like John Wall get a chance to play like Deshaun Livingston with Golden State. Like, sorry about my dog is storming because he keep doing that. But yeah, like, I think John Wall is a backup point guard for a championship contender team, veteran team, just get some minutes, come off the bench. Like we say, played defense, had IQ if you could stay healthy. I would have loved to see that. I think he probably could have gotten signed. You know, he had the thing with Houston where didn't want to be there because he doesn't want to be on a team that's not trying to win. You can't really blame him for that. The thing I was gonna put you on the spot with, because I agree, not a Hall of Famer, but we could start talking about best point guards with the Wizards. Are you taking John Wall or Gilbert Arenas?
Oh man, dude, that's a good one. I like
that. Yeah, that's tough.
It's interesting because I mean, Gilbert's probably a better scorer at his peak, but if I'm looking at everything, I probably am leaning Wall a little bit. Like I think John's going to get his teammates involved a little more. Like you said, on the defensive end, I do think it goes Wall pretty heavily. Both of them kind of interesting career, and like for massively different reasons, obviously, but you know, kind of really strong peaks in their career that kind of went away pretty quickly. I think I'm leaning John Wall off the defense, but man, that's close. God, Gilbert, if he's scoring, I mean, Gilbert's averaging 30 a game.
Yeah, with them in the division, and then you know, me living in Virginia for a little bit, Washington is Virginia's team. That's the sort of team they root for. I've seen a lot of Gilbert Arenas and stuff, and he had some of that shooting deep before it was common. So, like you said, Gilbert Arenas was a microwave. If he could go get 50 on a given night,
I mean,
I probably will go John Wall just because of the complete player, but Gilbert was good.
He was, man. It's that 3-year run from like 05 to 04 to 07 where, I mean, yeah, he's making all NBA teams here. He's getting MVP votes. Like, I mean, he was averaging 25, almost 30 a game then for 05, and then 06, he was just under 30 a game. Like, you're right. Definition of a microwave. And you know what? He's getting his teammates involved probably more than I'm giving him credit for here. I mean, he was averaging 6 assists per game per season. I mean, John Wall, for some perspective on the scoring front, his highest scoring season ever was 23, and he only cracked that one time. Much higher assist numbers, though, obviously. Like, he had multiple seasons of over 10 assists per game, so like he does still have an advantage there. It kind of has to go back to the defense. That's crazy, though, that Gilbert's peak, because Gilbert's peak feels longer. But yeah, realistically, he had 3 just absolutely elite seasons and then kind of falls off a cliff a little bit due to injuries and then due to obviously a number of other issues. He had a few of those bench years late. Where Wall had a 5-year straight run of being an all-star. Only one all-NBA team, though. Gilbert's got 3 of them. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's like, what do you want? Do you want the longevity or do you want the peak? I guess if you want the peak, then you go Arenas. If you want the longevity, I think you probably go Wall there a little bit. But that's a good one. I want to hear it. Sound off in the comments, by the way. I want to hear some answers on that.
I'm trying to think. So you said Gilbert got 3 all-NBAs?
Gilbert's got 3 all-NBAs.
John Wall did have better point guards with him because Gilbert, when he was in his peak, you said, so he had the Steve Nash. Who else was it? Yeah, I think John Wall had better point guards because who else? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Who else would have been an all NBA? That might have been his benefit too.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve Nash the only one I think of. Baron Davis.
I'm trying to think. Let me see. 04, he was All-NBA third team in 04. Okay, so 04 All-NBA teams, guard-wise, it was Shaq and AI first team. It was Wade and Ray Allen second team guards, and then it was Gilbert and Kobe were third team that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Kobe being third, that is crazy. I mean, 05, I guess that is the year if it's going to be there. But like, right, that does feel kind of crazy. Ray Allen in Seattle there, by the way, after he signed there for a little bit. Your boy Wade, 23 years old, getting that all second team right there. And that was the year before the finals.
That's why I respect Gilbert Arenas. Like, Gilbert told a funny story where Wizards fans had so much beef with Wade because they swore Gilbert Arenas was just as good, which of course was ridiculous. But Gilbert laughs about it now because he didn't guard Wade. So all this talk, we learned now that we're older, Kev. All these players read all the Twitter, all the stuff that's said. They act like they say they ignore it. They do not.
That's why I respect Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant just embraces it. He's like, no, I'm in here arguing with you people because Loki, everybody else just does it on a burner, acts like they don't see it. They definitely see it.
Right. Yeah. So Wade, I'll never forget Wade. He would have dropped 50, but I think Spo took him out because they were winning. But Wade just made it his business to drive every single time, and it was the young Wade that dunks. So
Right.
it was just highlight. I'm gonna have to find it and see you. I'll tweet the account and you that game where it's just highlight reel dunk after highlight reel dunk.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, yeah, you want to talk athleticism, like Dwayne Wade early on, especially. Like, not many people have bunnies like Dwayne early. Like you said, attacking the rim at will. There was no stopping that, as we saw, especially then the year later. Still one of the greatest individual finals performances we'll ever see, probably. Welcome, everybody, to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me this week, Justin Cousart is off. Thank you again for the delay. I myself have also been on vacation a little bit here. But nevertheless, we are back at it. Carlton is with me this time. You, of course, have heard him on the podcast, Carlton Cabey. Follow him on Twitter at Carlton KB _ and like K and B, like the initials there. Also, you got to follow him on Instagram too, because we got to talk about this. Carlton has been on a run with this recently on Instagram at Smell Good Chronicles, where Carlton has been doing all sorts of fragrance reviews. We're talking like body butters, colognes, you name it. And I can confirm, again, Carlton and I worked together in the past. We've been friends longer than that too. Carlton does smell good. He is qualified to talk about this. This is not just, you always got to ask, like, what are the credentials here? Carlton confirms smells great. So I'm glad he's doing this. I mean, talk to us. What can people expect on that page?
Oh yeah, like I said, mostly fragrances and most. I learned. I was gonna say mostly masculine, but Kev, I'll tell you a secret, man. I'll tell you in the list of the secret. We get the most compliments on fragrances that quote unquote feminine leaning. Like this, yeah, I thought it was crazy, but everyone I have that I would say smells a little feminine. The compliments go crazy. Like I was at a cologne shop just looking at stuff, and she's like, "I have something you should smell," and she sprays Burberry Her on me. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And no lie, I went there for lunch. No lie, I go back to work, and everybody's like, "Did you have that on earlier?" She's like, "What is that?" And I told her, I was like, "It's Burberry Her." And my coworker's like, "No, I have Burberry Her. It does not smell like that on me. So do not be afraid of florals since they're quote unquote feminine leading." But yeah, it's just discovered there's so many fragrances out here, all different price points. You mentioned the creeds and stuff earlier. You don't have to spend a lot. So trying to find things in different prices. I know Kev, me and Kev didn't know each other for the college days, but we worked at a job that wasn't paying us the big bucks yet. I would have appreciated some of these $30 and $25 colognes in those days.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you'd say I'm bringing up Creed, and don't get me wrong, I know what it is. I'm still not buying Creed out here. Don't think we didn't glow up on you that hard yet. So we're not quite there. But I mean, talk to me. You mentioned, like, I mean, obviously we're kind of towards the end of summer right now, going into fall. Temperature changed a little bit slower down there in Florida, but you still getting it a little bit. I mean, it's a loaded question to be like, what's your favorite cologne right now? That's a little too difficult. But as we kind of start to turn the page a little bit, you got any fall favorites?
Oh yeah. So my favorite overall, I do have a favorite just because it smells so good. And Mind Games French Defense. It is not cheap, so expensive that I don't have a bottle of it yet. Retail, I think it's like $3 something. So that's that thing. But yeah, fall. It's a lot like the clothes. Like you said, summer is cool. We could wear shorts and t-shirt, things like that. But where summer you could dress it up, you could wear the coat jacket and the sweater vest and things like that. That's the fragrance is the same way where it's just better for the fall and winter. The hoodie season colognes that I like to call them are better. But yeah, depending on your price point, that's when your vanillas and your cinnamons and things come up. I'm looking at Zara Most Wanted Intense. It's like a mix of vanilla and things like that. That's really good. And the Jean Paul Gaultier Lamelle Elixir, that honey, they have a honey note in there that just gets compliments going crazy. So yeah, you want to look for the darker scents that, people like us, Kev, wear heavy sweaters. So in the summer, we can't wear that honey and those cinnamons and stuff like that. But come this fall time, I got to get up there in Philly. But yeah, it could definitely get through those. You could watch an Eagles game and smell good the whole time. And hopefully they play well, because I know how rowdy you Philly guys get.
Listen, I think everybody, and they always are giving me a hard time. Like, we don't believe you're not going to be like frustrated about the Eagles this season. The Eagles can do no wrong for me right now. Like, there is after the Super Bowl last year, after the way as dominant of a performance that was, answering all the critics on everything from quarterback to coaching, You get Saquon from one of your rivals, and he literally has the best rushing season of all time in his first season. Like, there's always, as sports fans, what's that quote from The Office where it's like you want to know if you're living in the good old days, you never know if you are or whatever. I'm firmly living in the good old days as an Eagles fan right now. And as you can, we'll talk hockey later on towards the end of the show, but like, as with the Panthers right now going back to back, like it's impossible to complain right now, like without just being ridiculous. Like, they're so well run, they're so likable. Like, there's nobody on the team where I'm like, man, I just hate rooting for that guy. Like, it really is easy to go out. And yeah, it's a great time to be an Eagles fan right now. Like, it just feels like they're going to put a competitive roster together every single year. We'll see what happens this year, but like, no matter what happens, I'm on house money. Like, we've won 2 Super Bowls now in the past 8 years. I went the first 20 and change of my life watching them come short every single moment. Ever since they got over that hump, beating Tom Brady back in 2018. It felt like they've been there. Now it feels like this. The 2018 team wasn't necessarily like as equipped to potentially repeat the way this squad is now. It's like, you look around, it's all the same guys are back. They're all in their primes. Like, there are multiple positions right now where I go, yeah, these are like the best Eagles I've ever seen in that position. Like Lane Johnson at tackle. I'm trying to even AJ Brown, arguably already at receiver. Like, I think there's a pretty strong case that he's the best receiver the Eagles have ever had. So yeah, it's a great time to be about it. There's no way around it. I don't think anybody's in a bad. I know the rep doesn't go anywhere, but like, I think you're hard pressed to find anybody in a bad mood with the Eagles up here right now.
Oh, for sure. Hey, I say it all the time, man. That 2018 Super Bowl is one of the best ever. You know how much I hate Tom Brady, and I don't have to tell you, Tom Brady was balling in that game.
My God. 505 yards, bro.
That's the best he's ever. The Super Bowls Tom Brady won, he should have lost. The ones he lost, he probably should have won.
Yeah.
He was hooping for you guys. That's the best I've ever seen him play.
We couldn't stop him. Like, you go back and you watch the footage of that game, and they held him to a field goal on the first 2 drives. They stopped him in the red zone, and we got bailed because Gostowski, they botched the snap, and so he missed the one. They had the one drive stall kind of because Brady dropped the trick play when they low-key ran the Philly special before the Philly special. And dude, after that, like, we didn't stop. Like, I remember even when we scored, like, Ertz scores with 2 and change left in that game. And, we have to go for 2. We're up 5 at that point when Ertz scores. And in my head, I'm going, yo, we have to score this 2-point conversion just to even have a chance. Like, I know they're scoring on the next drive. Like, it's not a matter of, it's like, you got to even just have it. Like, let's get to overtime and just keep the dream alive. And then we missed that 2-point conversion, and Amber was watching that game with me. Bless her, was solo with me during that. Like, deserves the Medal of Freedom just off that alone. They were, I mean, she was like, why are you so despondent? You got to leave. There's not that much time left. I was like, you don't understand. I was like, I'm about to watch Tom Brady lose the Super. Like, we're going to lose. Like, it was drilled into my idea. First play, the Patriots get the ball back, 8-yard screen to Gronkowski. I was like, yo, here we go. I was like, here we go. Like, it's just already starting. Man, Brandon Graham, still to this day, God bless that guy, dude. He made the play of his life when it mattered, got through. We had 1 turnover. We had 1 turnover the whole game. It put us in field goal range. You kick the field goal, you go up 8. Even on the Hail Mary in that game, the last play of that game, Gronk gets his hands on the ball. Like, we tipped it back up in the air. Oh my God. Like, and at that point, again, they still need the 2, but they're getting the 2 if they get that Hail Mary. Like, you're not telling me they're not scoring that 2-point conversion.
Just giving it back to Gronk, who was going to stop him.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, Gronk too, that second half, like, just an absolute MVP performance. But hey, listen, you exercised a lot of demons there as an Eagles fan. Obviously, yeah, the go around this time was a lot less stressful, more stressful than I think people will remember in hindsight. But when Cooper scores in hindsight, you go, yo, all right, we had it. It was pretty over since then. Yeah, what a ride. But like I said, no room to complain here up right now. But again, yeah, check out the Cologne page for Carlton. There's a lot of great stuff on there. Like I say, super qualified to talk about that. There's low key. I may sneak a few more in at the end of the episode, so we may have to come back to that a little bit. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad, or read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us. Watch the video streams of the podcast on YouTube. Just search Drive and Dish NBA Podcast. And now a word from our sponsors. All right, so coming back, last time we had an episode again a few weeks ago. Thank you for the patience, everybody here. We're happy to be back. Mikal Bridges had just signed the extension in New York. That was the big one. Now a pair of bigger extensions since then. First one obviously being Luka Doncic, 3 years, $165 million with the Lakers. Felt like it was obviously trending all that direction. Carlton, I see you laughing. I know it's still hard to believe too. Just like what a sentence.
Oh yeah,
But we're here
the
now.
Heat were going to get him. The Heat were
Nah.
pushing all their chips to sign Luka in summer 2026.
Hey, it's all right, man. He just, there was nothing you could have done. Nico said, "Hey, we're giving him away. That's the plan." And I mean, after they got the number one pick in the draft, they may have had a little bit of something else leaning on him too. But we all need to put on the tinfoil hat just for going around here. But yeah, I mean, look, like for Luka, for the Lakers, this was the last big question. I think everybody knew he was coming back, especially when he talked about loyalty. I think that was the biggest reason he was so hurt to leave Dallas. I think it would have been kind of surprising to see him start to leap around like that. But it keeps him through 2028, player option for the final season. He'll be eligible for that big 5-year extension then. A lot of his teammates showing up for the press conference with him getting introed, including a lot of the new guys this year that they brought in, DeAndre Ayton, among others. But yeah, I mean, this is the official, kind of one of the big summer narratives that we've been talking about is the shift from, and they're still both there, but from this being the LeBron show in LA to this starting to be like, no, we're in Luka mode and we're planning for Luka's prime. And, we're kind of building this team around Luka a little bit. This is just another sign in that direction, right?
Yeah, definitely, and as they should. Love LeBron, appreciate him. I've said it a million times. I keep saying it. Best player to ever play the game, in my opinion. But at some point, it's time to go. It's time to start moving on. Like you said, Nico gift wrapped them another superstar that you could go forward with for the next 10 years. Like it's certain things. Like I say, Kobe. And in your mind, Kev, you could see the gold 8s and 24s in your head. That's how it's going to be for the next 10 years. And with the next generation, you're just going to be able to see those gold. You say Luka, and it's going to the Mavs jersey is going to fade, and you're just going to see that gold 77 jersey in there. And Staples Center, LA. That's just a city for a superstar. So Luka's going to be well. You had to do it. It was a good signing by them. I love to see. I'm going to love to see how they're going to put it. Build around them, especially after LeBron is gone.
Well, and that's the big question, right? Is like, we'll see if this happens initially, like how quickly it moves. I mean, I know LeBron watch has been a thing here for a little bit now. And it's funny, you mentioned, the impact. I mean, it's when Kobe was there the whole time, it's like, obviously it's a little bit different. Luka won't have been, Mr. Lakers starting his career there. But I think even now, when you compare him and LeBron, like LeBron weirdly has played the longest amount of his career in a Lakers uniform. Like that's what's crazy is I feel like because it's his third team, because he had so many signature moments with Miami and then obviously the ultimate signature moment of his career coming back in Cleveland, like there's always been that weird part of like the Lakers fan base that almost like hasn't accepted LeBron and he hasn't been like a true Laker in their eyes, which has always been insane to me. But, it feels like there's that segment still. I don't think you'll see that with Luka as much. Obviously, like Luka still being 28 years old, like he's got the potential to end his career there if we think it'll go as well as it can, like have a 10+ year run potentially as a Laker, Look, you're right. I'm interested to see how they build around him, how they try to do this like in between act right now, right? Because they've already got, this was a team that they were up at the number 3 seed last year, but a pretty disappointing playoff exit. They've got a lot of new characters coming in here this season, but I mean, I don't know. How do you chart them among the West right now? Because I know, at least for me, it still feels like they're a piece or two behind like the true top dogs of the West, the OKCs, the Denvers, the Houstons of the world.
Yeah, no, they're definitely still trending to the 6th to anywhere from 6th seed to play in. It's just tough. Like you said, there's too many better teams. And it all depends on LeBron, really. Like, not, and I'm not even talking about how he plays. I'm talking, you know, LeBron's calculated. I've watched LeBron leave Miami, and then it's like where all the signs were obvious. Like, he literally had trucks packing all his cars away and going to Cleveland. And we were convinced that was just for the summer. Like, you don't need every car if you just go there for the summer. So LeBron's very calculated. What's funny is I think he would love to go back to so you always got to look at the teams where LeBron thinks he can win. He needs that 5th ring. Like, you got to at least tie Kobe. You're not catching Jordan at this point. You're definitely not passing him. You got to at least tie Kobe and Shaq and those guys. And he knows it. I don't think he will at this point unless something, you know, a trade that we don't see. You know, he would want to go back to Cleveland, but I don't think Dan Gilbert wants him back. I've talked to Cleveland fans that don't really want him back, too, surprisingly enough. Like, I'm like, don't be stupid. If that you take a Kev, you know as well as I do. If you could get a ring, you get a ring. I had to forgive Alonzo Mourning. I didn't want him back, and then he goes into 06 and makes 18 blocks in 2 seconds. I'm like, oh yes, that's why you take him back. But my guess, you know, just how LeBron's so calculated is the Mavs and Cleveland are the 2 teams that he would try to get a trade to that he would fit. And it's just like, what do you get back from if you're the Lakers, and do you make that trade? So that's what's going to be the most interesting. He obviously has a no trade clause, so you can't trade him anywhere. You know, LeBron and Rich Paul is their league, so that's the drama. Like, where is LeBron trying to force his way to, and will they take him? And then, I mean, do you take Bronny, Kev?
Hey, listen, if I'm getting LeBron James and I'm close to the top, like, yeah, I'm totally taking Bronny. Like, it's part of the package deal, 100%. And here's the thing, like, Bronny showed me enough in Summer League. Like, I'm not even trying to dump on Bronny. Like, I still think there's enough there where he can be a back-end guy. Like, I don't think this is like, you know, I'm trying to think of it, like, I don't want to, like, be the typical guy, but it's like, I don't think this is Thanasis where he's like just straight up stealing a roster spot, it feels like. Like, I do think Bronny still can work into something. It just, you know, he just jumped ahead of the line a little bit. He just will have to spend less time in the G than he did. But you saw signs in Summer League. If LeBron forces out, he's got to go west, right? Or not west, excuse me. I'm saying exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to say. He's got to go east, right? Like, the East is so wide open now compared to the Western Conference. You're going through 3 tough series probably to get to the finals. The Eastern Conference, post Hallie injury, post Jason Tatum injury, like, who, other than the Knicks, who is really scaring you in the Eastern Conference right now?
Well, that's what I wanted to say earlier when you were talking about the Eagles. I know this is a ridiculous thing to say because you're comparing sports, but what's weaker, the NFC or the East? Like, I don't think in our life we have ever seen the East be this weak. And like you said, injuries has something to do with it. But the teams, like, nobody's you guys have injuries. Nobody's scared of the Heat. Pacers and Celtics have injuries. I'm going to be interested to see what Jaylen Brown does. You know, they're still a good team, but are they scaring you? Or are you saying, oh, I don't want to see the Celtics? Even the Knicks, like, can we trust the Knicks? Like, this is. I mean,
that's what's crazy is it's like, you're right. I think there are legitimate questions and concerns about the Knicks. Like, not, you know, I like the Mike Brown hire. I still have faith in that core, and if anything, I think their depth will be a little improved now. But you're right. Like, I don't think the Knicks are, you know, when you talk about like bona fide conference favorites, Boston a few years ago felt like that. The Heat going way back have obviously felt like that at points. You know, when they had their big 3 last year with OKC, you know, OKC felt like a definitive conference favorite where you're like, you look around and you go, yeah, that's a complete team. I don't feel that way necessarily about the Knicks the way I do, where I'm like, yeah, no, they are 100% a lock. But even with that, I do. I think they're more complete than anybody else in the Eastern Conference. Like, I just don't, even with their flaws, there's just everybody else has a bigger one. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, yeah, I think there's a few teams where if everything goes right, then I think they can compete with the Knicks for that reason. Like, yeah, if Embiid bounces back to MVP form and Paul George gives you literally anything and the young guys break out, then sure, maybe you can talk me into the Sixers. But like, listen, you know damn well I am not about to get on this podcast in 2025 and talk highly about the Sixers' chances to win anything. I think Cleveland is going to be a regular season darling again, but I've been saying for the past few weeks that it's like, I'm just so jaded on Cleveland given how they've exited the past few playoffs, like especially last year. Last year was disgusting after that regular season. Like,
I agree.
I can't.
Last year, they were supposed to make the finals last year. That is a disappointment that they didn't make it or whatever. And as you were talking about it, if Giannis is as good as he wants, this is Giannis's year. Giannis needs to show us. Growing up, we've had the superstars, like you said. It was Jordan before us. We've seen Kobe do it. We've seen D-Wade. We've seen Shaq in the early 2000s be the most dominant person. Not saying if he goes up against the OKC or somebody, he should beat them. But Giannis is by far the best player in the East.
Yeah, for sure.
With Joel being hurt. Go make the finals, because a lot of people give the Lakers that asterisk season for the lockout. I give it to the Bucks. Like, that lockout shortened season. You remember, Kev, the Heat had just lost a month ago, and it was like they were already back. And that was a rush season. And, you had Atlanta, I actually think will be better too. But you had the Hawks versus the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, if that's not something to take seriously,
I don't even want to talk about it. The Sixers blew that all over. And listen, I'm going to sound like an Atlanta hater. I don't want to discredit that team, but like, that to me is still the ultimate Sixers blowing it moment. They had no excuse losing to the Hawks in that series, and just decided to. Oh, I don't.
Especially with Trae Young not playing good in Game 7. Sorry.
Bro, I think the only reason, this is how crazy and this is how sick we are, is when you're sports fans like that. I was in the British Virgin Islands when we lost that game, and I still didn't get any sleep about it that night. We lost that Game 7 because Ben passed up that dunk. Like, you know how messed up in the head you have to be to not be happy on a tropical island and just have these guys like, oh my goodness. Absolute failure by them. You're not wrong though about the Bucks in the sense that you're right. Like, with Giannis, and I don't like that roster. Like, that's the reason I'm not bullish on it, is like, they can't get any depth now because you have the Dame contract stuck. Sure, you got Miles Turner, but like, Miles Turner just kind of replaces what.
Did you like that signing in that contract though? Like, you take them from your rivals. I learned this year that the Pacers and Bucks were such big rivals, but like, did you like that signing? Like, yeah, you could play well, I guess. Like, he's got a nice Lego set, but
yeah, I mean, look, and Miles was great for them on that run. I mean, I think if anything, I'm still just more shocked. It was like, yo, Mr. Indiana was like, really, he bolted to Milwaukee, the team, right away. Like, actually, like, he just went to the right. He even addressed it. He's like, Milwaukee fans, I finally like y'all now. Like, that's great. There was real beef there. That's been a sneaky rivalry in the NBA here the past few years. Look. I like Miles Turner in the sense that, like, he's a younger Brook Lopez, but I don't like it in the sense of, like, that doesn't improve the roster really, because Brook is gone now. Like, I think it gives you a younger version of what Brook was already giving you, but we saw that team struggle with Brook Lopez last year. Like, Bobby Portis is another year older. I didn't like the Kuzma trade. I just did feel like he was pretty inefficient, and maybe that'll get a little better with the full offseason in the mix. But yeah, I mean, it felt like they made, they let franchise legend Chris Middleton go, who, again, dealt with a ton of injuries. Like, I understand the thinking there, but it was like, man, you trade him for Kuzma. Like, was that really the move to get over the top? And so, yeah, I don't know what the Bucks are going to do. It feels like, I mean, again, they'll have a chance. Like you said, Giannis is by far the best player in the Eastern Conference right now, currently. And so they should have a chance to get to the conference finals based off that. But to me, it is about the supporting cast a little bit, and kind of going back to, like, not to make this a LeBron propaganda show, but it, like, no, LeBron is just LeBron. Like, I don't know that anybody can do that. Like, he did it for so long and did it for 10 years that we're like, yeah, maybe anybody on that level could just drag them there every year. But like, especially now in a league full of parity, like, I think that is a little more difficult. Or we would have seen Jokic in the finals last year. We would have seen Giannis and Steph in the finals these last few years. Like, these guys have all won. They're certified champions, but it's like, and now with the apron, it is harder to get back than I think it's probably been at any time in our fanhood.
Right, for sure. And it's making the thing that I can respect is it makes you have to draft well, or draft solid. Like, Kev, one random thing we'll always say is he's 2 years away from being 2 years. I haven't had a chance to say that to you in a while, but like, you can't afford to do stuff like that anymore.
Shout out to Bruno, man. That was just like, I think the reaction with that really is when an all-time NBA draft Twitter reaction. It was just like, people, like, this is the only time I've had analysts just straight up go, I don't know who this guy is. Like, where did they even find him? Like, it wasn't even like, oh, I've never seen a mock draft where somebody wasn't on the mock draft and then but like, shout out to him wherever he's at. I hope Bruno is doing well. The other big extension out west that I did want to mention as well here is De'Aaron Fox with a 4-year, $229 million extension with the Spurs. Obviously, he was their big trade off-season acquisition last year, as they kind of were making the push to go a little more all in. And then unfortunately, the combo, I mean, Fox was dealing with the finger injury all last year. I mean, I think he even joked in the press conference. He was like, well, yeah, I'll be able to play with 10 fingers next year. That'll be pretty fun. But and then once Wemby with the blood clots, obviously, like that throws the whole campaign off here real quick. But full off season now, getting ready to go. Now that question mark is dealt with. There's certainly a lot of guards there in San Antonio, and with another big one coming in with Dylan Harper with the number 2 overall pick. But where are you at with the San Antonio squad now? Wemby's going to be ready to go for opening night. Again, this is a loaded Western Conference. I guess, how do you stack them up? And do you expect them to kind of take the leap at all this year, maybe?
I don't. Here's the thing. I'm a huge De'Aaron Fox fan, and maybe it might be the Kentucky and Calipari thing. So I love De'Aaron Fox. Like, I think he's criminally underrated because he was in Sacramento and another bad organization like the Wizards that I start having these imaginary beefs with these organizations. But one thing I've learned just watching things, I feel like the Warriors taught me this, Kev, and it's what Heat fans have been complaining about. You have to pick a window. So, for instance, like with the Heat, it was like, are you going to pay Jimmy Butler and just go all in, or are you going to start young? You have to tear it down. You have to pick a window. So I don't like giving De'Aaron Fox that money. But then, like you mentioned, you have Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle and things like that. Like, I don't like that direction because you're going to stunt. You're either going to make De'Aaron Fox not De'Aaron Fox, or you're going to stunt their growth and whatever. Like, you have to, and you could get good pieces for those. Like, you could have traded the second pick and got veteran pieces, really good pieces to fit around the team better if need be. Of course, we're hoping for health with Wemby, but with Pop gone, I think the Spurs are still going in the mindset like, oh, Pop will figure it out. I think organizations forget the obvious, like, no, Pop isn't here. Like, oh, Pop is still in the building. It's a lot different when you're not on there coaching. Like, Pop has to let that guy do his own thing. And I know he's watched Pop and stuff like that, but I could watch you do your job all day, Kev. When it's my turn to do it, I still have to prove it. So I'm not a big fan. I love Wemby. I love the pieces individually. I'm not sold on them as a team, as a unit together.
It does feel like they almost got forced into a weird two-pronged timeline right now, just because they were pretty actively shopping the number 2 pick, and I think with KD out there, KD would have been a big push in, obviously, given his age, but even with Giannis, like when Giannis was flirting with leaving, like San Antonio to me was one of the teams where it's like, hey, this would make sense, like you have the pieces to actually do it. Like, I think they can go out and get guys with some of the pieces they have now, even with like the Devin Vassell's and the Keldon Johnsons of the world, where, you can maybe go out and get that, maybe another wing player necessarily that can, push the timeline in a little more. You're right, though. The worry I have with Fox is the one we had that we talked about at the beginning of the show, is that I think De'Aaron Fox, like, he's not a traditionally great shooter. Like, he is a guy who bases a lot of his game in athleticism. And you're right. I think he's been probably underrated as a whole here in the NBA these past few years. And he'll have this chance to shine in San Antonio. Like, I think the team with him is better than they were last year. But you're right. Like, a lot of this does involve like their younger guys developing and continuing to get better. And it's like, hey, are you able to win some games now, get in the spotlight? I'd also argue there's a little pressure on Wemby now too, a little bit. It's like Wemby is our alien generational prospect. We're at year 3 now. And again, year 2 cut a little bit short due to no fault of his own, but, and certainly on the defensive side, we've seen it, but it is like, hey, they haven't played meaningful games yet. Like, I'd like to see them start getting into the play-in picture, but then you look around and you go, who's going to drop? And, none of the top 6 teams from last year really look to drop. I don't think they've taken a big hit. Golden State's Golden State. They've got Jimmy still. They've got Steph still. We'll see what a new look Memphis looks like post Desmond Bane, but I don't think they're going to totally fall off a cliff. Does Sacramento fade? Maybe a little bit. Does Dallas fade? Not as much if Anthony Davis is healthy. And now with Cooper Flag, you still got a Kyrie question injury wise, but it's like, even a team like Portland looks to be a little bit better. Like there just aren't those bad teams in the Western Conference. Like it's always like, who do you think knocks out? Maybe of those 10 teams that made the playoffs or play in last year, like your two biggest candidates there are Memphis and Sacramento, probably. But like I don't see any of them as a lock to fall off. And even then, like you said, you're contending with Portland, who should be a little better. Like you're just not the lock to take that spot. Even if the Pelicans can put it all together for a season, like they were in the playoffs a few years ago. It's just if this was the Eastern Conference, again, completely different story. I think they would be cruising into the Eastern Conference. But yeah, at some point I do, and I think this is the move going to sign Fox. Like you do the clock is ticking now to start winning some games here.
Right. Yeah, the clock is ticking, and that. So who's going to step up? Like you said, you mentioned pieces. I love Keldon Johnson as a championship contender piece, but does he fit there? And same way I call Giannis out. It's time for Wemby. Like your third year, you have the natural sophomore slump, but third year it's time. Like we've seen him pretty much be anointed as defensive player of the year. Not to I don't promote gambling, but if you were going to bet odds, go ahead. Wemby's a safe bet. The NBA wanted to give it to him last year, but yeah, Wemby has to carry the team now. So, and then like we mentioned, rookie coach. I know he's not technically a rookie because he's been around and he's got some experience, but it's his show now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, obviously, but Pop has been, and I think with the health concerns, like there's been a lot more of a transition already going on than probably, like, I don't think this is just like a shock to anybody. I mean, I think it's obviously extremely unfortunate that Pop is forced to step away in these circumstances. We wish for somebody as legendary of his career that it would be just any little bit different. But I do think the organization has probably been planning for this a little bit, at least. I mean, I think the first health scare was, God, it was like a year and a half ago almost at this point. So I think when that happened, there was a little bit of the like, hey, we need to kind of get our ducks in a row behind the scenes. Like you're never going to run the guy out, obviously, nor should you. But a little bit of that. I just think, yeah, like you said, it probably happened a lot faster than anybody would have liked. Like I think there's always, you try to make the transition as smooth as possible. I mean, the way Pat Riley did for Spo, right?
Yeah, and I think that was the plan. We can all have our conspiracies in our head, but I do think Pop was on his way out, and then he gets Wemby. They get the number one pick. That ends up being Wemby.
Yeah, for sure.
You're giving me another Duncan and David Robinson. I got 10 more years.
Listen, yeah. I mean, can you blame him though? Like that's the thing. That franchise, they were stuck in. I mean, they had the LaMarcus Aldridge and they had those teams with DeRozan. Like they never were bad, but right, like they were never like when Kawhi left, the window was very closed. And then you just congratulations. Here, walk on down, Victor Wembanyama. Here we go. Here's one of the greatest NBA prospects we've ever seen. I mean, look, the Spurs have the greatest lottery luck of all time. It's unbelievable. Like they haven't even really been bad that long or that many years, but every time it's not just like, oh, you get a number one pick. Like I watched the Sixers get 2 number one picks. They may have been 2 of the worst number one picks of all time. Y'all got right. Tim Duncan, Victor Wembanyama, and David Robinson. You can't make it up.
You really can. It's ridiculous, man. I'm hating them.
I'm definitely hating. I told CC straight up to his face, and our guy Chris Crawford, a huge Spurs fan, like I was like, "Are you kidding me, young at Wemby? I'm sick of you guys." Like, Spurs fans have never had any They had the first little taste of adversity, and they got to draft Victor Wembanyama. And like, listen, man, they've had on the NBA pain meters, the Spurs are very much near the bottom of the NBA pain meter. Man, there's no doubt about it.
They have one Ray Allen shot that broke their hearts. And what they do, they went and beat us. They went and beat LeBron back to Cleveland the very next year and got their revenge right away.
They got it back. They literally and they didn't even have to wait a year. Like, I don't want to go back to the Eagles, but like the Eagles with the Chiefs, we had to wait a full year. We collapsed starting 10-1 before we got that shot again. Like the Spurs right here. It was like, I mean, what was crazy about that series in hindsight, Carlton, because I mean, obviously you were super invested in that as a Heat fan. It was 1-1. That series was 1-1 in the first game. LeBron had the cramp deal, and it was like, it could have been 2-0.
I was just about to say that. Not only was it 1-1, it should have been 2-0 if not for the cramps and stuff. And me and my brother, certain things when you're sports fans like us, you remember random conversations vividly. So I remember we had got killed game 3, I believe it was. And my brother, and I wasn't mad. I wasn't worried. My brother was just like, well, that was tough. I was like, Yeah, I mean, and I was like, if they keep shooting like that, we're just not going again. They can't keep doing that. And I don't think Danny Green has missed a shot.
He
I
didn't
just
that
have
run. No,
nightmares of Danny. I have nightmares of just Danny Green and Boris Diaw just running point and nobody can stop them. I'm just like, what is going on here? And it's just like, I was in Miami interning at the time, and it's just like everybody's just looking around like you saw it before it happened. It's just like, they're really not going to be able to stop Boris Diaw. He's really going to hit another three and another three and another three. It was just like, we're just losing.
They just got into that flow. Like there aren't many, you're right. Everything clicked. And it was like, I mean, because we've seen like better individual squads. Like namely, I'm thinking of the KD Warriors, where it was just like, these teams, there's nobody beating this team. There's just nobody on earth beating this team. That Spurs team was, for not being on paper, quote unquote, invincible, like the way where it was just such a given because they had so much better. Like, bro, this obviously, like, that Heat team is great, and I know they were at the end of the 4-year run of them making the finals. So like, there's a little bit of fatigue there too. But it was like, there aren't many like that. Spurs, they were dialed. Like, there was nobody on earth that was beating that Spurs team that year post that game 3. I mean, I've never seen it. Like, it was beautiful. It was art. Like, it was just straight up art.
Here's the funny thing, though, man. Like you said, and it's why, people were like, "Oh, the Celtics won the championship, but it's the weakest thing." And I just like, history doesn't remember that. So it's 2 teams I remember. Not to bring up your bad stuff, Kev, but the year Kawhi hits that shot, that was y'all's title. Like, Jimmy was playoff Jimmy before we called him playoff Jimmy, like he did with Miami. Like, y'all beat them. Y'all were gonna win the championship.
Yep.
People don't remember that. People don't remember this. There's one team that could beat the Spurs that year. And it was the James Harden, Dwight Howard, Houston Rockets. And Dame Lillard broke their hearts a few series before. And if he not do that, I would bet money that Houston team could have beat the Spurs. And then I think we would have beaten that Houston team because James Harden and Dwight Howard wasn't a good matchup for the big 3 Miami team. So it's funny how small those game-winning shots change things. But that's another reason why I have beef with James Harden, because it's just like, dude, you let Dame Lillard screw me out of a 3-peat.
Bro, that was rookie Dame too. That was crazy. That was that was the big shot that made his year. I mean, one of the better rookie years I've ever seen. I want to go back and watch some tape on that now. I haven't truly thought about those teams in a while, just with Harden and Dwight, I'm saying.
Right.
I feel like the Rocket teams I always default to are Harden and Chris when they were going up against the Warriors and in those few years in like 16, 17, 18 and all that. But yeah, that's interesting. I want to go back and watch the matchups from now that this year. You give me the itch there. I mean, it is about matchups a lot of the times, right? Like, I think about the fact that I mean, I know Denver fans feel that way. Denver fans are like, we would have been back in the finals and potentially like not even feeling like they would have beat Boston that year, but it's like Minnesota was the perfect matchup for them just to beat them. Like, Minnesota uniquely had the personnel to beat Denver that year with Gobert, with Towns, and then they go out and, Dallas runs them out the next round. And a lot of Denver fans were like, man, I wanted that shot against Dallas. We'd have felt better against them. And at least, maybe that with how good that Celtics team was, maybe not as much of a guarantee there, but certainly again a big what if there and how things would have changed. As for the Kawhi Raptors, you're like,
if you go back, oh man, yeah,
it's the only year. It's the only year they had it. It's the only year they were healthy. It's the Ben hadn't fallen off yet, and Jimmy was Jimmy. Like, that's what it. And yeah, I mean, shoot, you talk about what ifs. I mean, Jimmy doesn't go to Miami. He wins that year. I don't think there's no planet they're letting Jimmy walk out.
He already loved Joel. You guys don't mind paying him. You just won a championship.
Yeah. God, I hate that so much.
Yeah. Go back
so
to that
in the championship last. Wait, say it again.
Kendrick Perkins said a funny thing. He was just like, James Harden is a terrible playoff performer, except for versus San Antonio. And he's like, everybody thinks he has Pop's number. He's like, no, San Antonio's just born, so he can't go to strip clubs. So he has plenty of energy. And historically, he's right. Like, he plays good. Like, even that OKC year when they made the finals, like, he was balling versus when it was the Spurs. I think in OKC, like, James Harden was having the best games of his life. Borden is off the court, like.
I can't speak to the San Antonio strip clubs, but I will shoot San Antonio a little bail there. I'm not gonna lie, I had a great time while I was in San Antonio. I'm not gonna lie. It was the food was great. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Alamo, I enjoyed it. People complain about it being small. I don't know. I thought it was a good time. The Riverwalk is fun. It's definitely a little touristy, but like whatever. I don't know. I had a good time in San Antonio. I'm definitely not complaining. But speaking of the finals this past year, Rick Carlisle signed in an extension, multi-year extension to stay as head coach of the Pacers. Not really a huge surprise there. If anything, again, one of the runs of many things from Indy's run last year, but I feel like one of the narratives that'll get lost is that, Rick Carlisle will always be a coaching legend no matter what for that 2011 Dallas run. And now last year with that Indy run certainly solidified. But the year before, man, he's pretty rough coaching wise against the Celtics. Like I remember, the Pacers blew multiple late games in that series. I don't think they were going to win that series, but they should have at least won 2 or 3 of them. It was pretty brutal, these games that they were blowing left and right. And it didn't feel like it was just the players. It felt like it was a little bit of coaching as well, where it was like, Rick, it felt like his situational awareness went out the window. Phenomenal job last year, like just completely threw those notions out the window. Obviously one of the better coaching jobs that, in my opinion, we've seen in the modern NBA. Give him credit too for adjusting. Like those are two radically different styles in the league from when you're making those runs from 2011 to 2024. It's just interesting now. I mean, Rick is obviously comfortable there, but with this Pacers team, you don't want to reset it, but you almost just have to now with the Halley punting year. Like this is a team that I think you would have gone all in for with them making that finals run, even if you feel like it was a little flash in the panty. But yeah, just I'm really intrigued to see what they do here over the next year-ish.
Me too. And Rick Carlisle is the only coach I've ever seen outcoach Spo. You mentioned the 2011 finals. He's coached circles around Spo. And Spo has said off the record, I think on the record, he wished he would have had it back. He made the adjustment too soon. I don't know if you remember. He it's at the end of people don't remember, man. Peja Stojakovic was on that 2011.
He was, dude. He was.
Team. He got a ring, and he was washed. So early in the series, he was giving Peja still a lot of minutes, and he took him out. And that was all the adjustment needed. So once Wade and Chalmers couldn't just run past the corpse of Peja Stojakovic anymore, and then for whatever reason, Spo was insisting on playing Mike Bibby. He waited too late. But yeah, that was the only time. I mean, you're right. He had a rough series versus Boston, and he made up for it. If the Pacers are smart, like we said, Kev, you break it down, they have a chance to get some of that San Antonio luck. Halliburton's out. From everything I hear, this is a strong draft coming up with the Boozer twins and the kid that went to BYU. I would tank if I'm the Pacers.
They're not going to win this year. So yeah, you absolutely should tank, like reset. The roster's automatically going to take a step back with just Hallie being out, with Miles gone now. Like you got, the problem is you're going to be competitive a little bit, like, Siakam and Neesmith and like they all just like they have too much depth to not be competitive. Even the guys like the TJ McConnells of the world,
like we mentioned.
And they what?
And the East is so weak that they don't have no choice but to be competitive because the other teams are bad too.
Well, right. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the thing is, so it's like, I don't think they're going to fall, but you're right. I mean, I think they should absolutely be playing for lottery picks this year. Yeah, because then you can reset. Like if Halliburton comes back, you've still got Siakam. Like he should, it's not like he's going to age out of his prime suddenly in the next year. Like they, in theory, if you keep the depth, should be able to run it back here in a few years with another big piece. It reminds me, I mean, of course it didn't work out necessarily with the Warriors with Wiseman. It was like, when you had that, when everybody got hurt post KD, when you knew Clay was going to be out too, it's like, hey, you reset, you get a high pick. In theory, that kind of, resets you a little bit. In theory, obviously, you have to hit on the pick too there, but I do want to flash back to, again, not to give you flashbacks here with the 2011 team, but like, because you mentioned Peja. That was one of the things about that team too, is like there were a lot of people, obviously Dirk and what it meant for his legacy and how much it just catapulted him up the all-time rankings. Like that's the big story, but like there are so many vets who got rings because of that team that just wouldn't have otherwise, and that you just are just like genuinely happy for. Like, beyond Jason Terry, it's like the Sean Marions of the world. Tyson Chandler got a ring because of that. You mentioned
Jason
Peja.
Kidd was on that team.
Who?
Jason
Oh,
Kidd.
yeah, no, right. That's Jason Kidd's Hall of Fame career. Like, no, that reminds it reminds me of Gary Payton getting a ring with you guys in '06, where it was like
Yeah.
Hall of Fame career. You get the late boost one, where it's like, yeah, you definitely deserve that a little bit. Jason Kidd, especially too, haven't been in the finals. Just going up against those Kobe and Shaq Lakers teams, like not really much you can do there. But yeah, I mean, definitely, definitely a super great coaching job there by Rick Carlisle that year. And then quite the redemption for you guys. And then the next year start that little bit of a run. But yeah, no, going back to Indy though, you're right. I think, again, you look at the Eastern Conference, the problem is it's like, it's just, God, it's so bad, dude. And like, there are
It's
other teams
so
that we
bad.
haven't mentioned, like a few that we haven't mentioned that are still going to compete. Like, I think Orlando is going to leap this year. I've been pretty bullish on that. I do think Detroit's going to be competitive again. I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff. You mentioned Atlanta a little bit earlier. I'm with you. I really like what Atlanta's done this offseason. I think they finally, like, we'll see what they do with Trey, but this to me is the roster, at least since that conference finals run, that makes the most sense. Like, they just have a lot of guys who can defend now. Like, just give Trey the ball. If you have 4 other good defenders around him, like, then it allows you to take advantage of he's an elite offensive player. Like, it's never the offense that we're in question. It's just, can you make up for the other end? It feels like now they might be able to. Like, I don't know. Chicago always finds a way to be mediocre. It doesn't feel like they'll fall off a cliff. Like, who are you tanking against? You're tanking against Washington and Charlotte, essentially, maybe Brooklyn, but that's Indy will be better than those teams, I think. But the point is, like, you could very much see this team like out of play-in contention. And yeah, if you reset, all of a sudden that looks a lot better with a high lottery pick. The way I was for the Sixers this year when everybody got hurt. Like, when everybody got hurt, it was going to the tank, and now we got BJ Edgecombe, who hopefully works out. Like, if you're not going to win this year, go get a high-end guy. This feels like a year where, listen, nobody would judge Indy for punting this year. Like, it just is what it is.
Agreed. And also, I think it's proven time for a lot of these guys that we give passes to. Everybody gets on Zion, rightfully so. It's proven time, but I don't give. I told you Sacramento and Washington franchise I have beef with. The Hornets is another one.
Yep.
I've always said I don't give LaMelo Ball a pass because I've seen what that Memphis team looks like without John Morant, and I've seen what they look like with them. And there's no reason why LaMelo Ball can't have a John Morant type of impact in the East if he was as good as they say. So when are we going to see something? When are we going to see? I know his last name is Ball and things like that, but when are we going to see he's as good as we've been told? Like, there were legit conversations. You mentioned Wiseman. It was a legit question between Anthony Edwards, Wiseman, and LaMelo. And Anthony Edwards is night and day ahead of both of them. Well, yeah, we know the story with Wiseman, but Ball as well.
No, and you've always got the flashes of LaMelo. Like, LaMelo gives you something every year to get you to buy back in, and then it's been a lot of injuries with him, like the way Zion has. I mean, we're talking about the most he's ever played in a season is 75 games. Like, we're 5 years into his career now. At some point, that starts to be a very fair question. And it's not like, look, Charlotte is Charlotte. We know this franchise and unfortunately just how they've been over the few years, but like, there's some talent there now. Like, you've got a legit chance. I really liked Brandon Miller. I know he dealt with injury issues last year, but like, he's a guy who's flashed a lot of potential there. Like, you're right with those two. I'm not saying they're going to start competing necessarily, but you're right. I want to see them start winning some games here. Like, can we push play in? Like, we've had Charlotte all the way down at the bottom last year. And like, Washington, we knew was kind of blowing it up, even with some of the higher picks, like with Sarr last year, for example. But yeah, right. With Charlotte, it's like, I want to start seeing them take the step. And I think with LaMelo, like, if we're going to build around him, we do need to see him be able to not just like, he's been there. It's not just the seeing the winning too at this point. It's like, we got to see you stay healthy.
Right. And why can't we've been speaking all podcasts about how weak the East is. I'm a huge fan of Brandon Miller. I thought before injuries, he was the end of his rookie year and stuff. He was looking really good. And then, he went to the Olympics to help the A team. LaMelo and this weekend East, LaMelo and Brandon Miller is enough to get you at least in the playoffs.
Yeah, at least around the position. Like, you got to be fighting for playing right now. But you're right. Like, I think the way it's going this year, again, it's who do you knock out? It's tough. Like, even with Boston without Tatum, I still think they're going to compete with Jaylen Brown and Derek White and all those guys. I know there's still been some changes but you're right. Like, this would be Like, this would be the step I want them to take. And I mean, hey, maybe they do. Like, Knipple look great in summer league. Like, I always joke, like, hey, they got a trophy now. They are the summer league champs. That's huge. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You like to see some development this year. More importantly, though, you're right. You want to see these guys be on the floor and play together. Like, you just want to start, like, we saw it last year with Detroit. Like, I think, these other young guys you talk about with Cade, I feel like it was getting to be prove it time with Cade a little bit, as crazy as that
It
sounds
was.
a few years in. And he was phenomenal last year. Really showed you, like, why hey, like, this was your reminder why I was the number one overall pick. You're right. I think it's fair to say that the Hornets are definitely there a little bit more than some of these. Like, they're not like Utah, for example, where, like, I don't think Utah has the guys yet necessarily to start winning. Like, there are a few teams out west a little bit where you're right. In the Eastern Conference, there isn't an excuse. Like, if everybody's healthy, you got to start winning some games here.
Right, for sure.
All right. So before we get out of here, we've obviously talked a lot of hoops. Big shout out to our guy Carlton Cabey for coming on the podcast. We'll give you the full outro here in a little bit. We talked a little bit of football earlier. I gotta ask. Well, I mean, look, it's a real tale of night and day in Miami sports that right now, right? Because it's like you got the Panthers coming off back-to-back Stanley Cups. I told our guy Joe Remit this off the mic. Last year rooting for the Panthers was easy because it's like, first championship in franchise history. Like, you always got to root for, like, I'm always a big fan of that, obviously. The only reason back to back was me. And because, again, I have a lot of, beyond you, like, I have a lot of genuine people that I like who are Panthers fans. And so, like, I want y'all to enjoy the back to back. It's sweet. The only thing is, it's so tough to me to root for Marchand, man. Like, I can't root for, and he's so good. Brad Marchand is so good. I get, like, the fact that he's going to be 43 years old at the end of this 6-year deal, but people still want to sign him to that shows how good he is. Like, I love that he even dunked on the Bruins fans a little bit, but, like, man, I can't root for Brad Marchand. It's just like, so I can't root for that guy to prosper, even though I know he's great
I,
and he's probably going to, but, like, oh man.
I don't blame you, man. Hey, that Panthers team, man. Like, I always tell you, my favorite thing about rooting for the Panthers is I don't watch much of hockey. Like, so, of course, I knew who Brad Marchand was, but, like, if they're not a top player, I don't know who they are. I don't know how good the other teams are and things like that. So, this Panthers team, because the Panthers and the Eagles have a lot of similarities. What happened with the Panthers never happens. Like, you hit on every high risk, low reward trade. Like, Sam Bennett was a hit. Sam Reinert was a hit. You already had Alexander Barkov. You traded from Matthews to Chuck or whatever, which, it looked like a big deal at the time because he gave it away. We were done with Huberdeau. You remember I used to complain about Huberdeau because he wouldn't shoot the damn puck.
Swing, though. Yeah, you still make it because, like, those teams are good. They always lost to Tampa, but Tampa was winning cups. Like, that's a big, like, those are the big swings you take as GMs to get you over the top. Like, trading Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, who is a good player. Like, he's been phenomenal since going to Calgary. It's not like he fell off. It's just, but it obviously has worked out.
There was a pick as well. I don't remember if it was a second round pick. It was a pretty high pick with that. So it did look like we gave up a lot for Matthew to Chuck. But, yeah, it's worked out. And, like, just this roster, man, like, this roster overall, I'm like, this is one of the best teams. Like, of course, I could talk trash because I was watching. I'm like, man, tell Gretzky and them line it up versus Panthers team and stuff like that. Like, this team from start to finish is good. And the thing that this team has going for them, like you said, you can't ask for too much. I'm not asking for a three-peat. I'm watching this happy and stuff like that. But somehow they're still underrated. They're still not being talked about. I'm hearing Carolina be talked about. Of course, Tampa is there, and then Toronto is hockey guys, so they're always going to talk about the Maple Leafs and stuff like that.
Are we kidding? So, Maple Leafs are cursed. What are we doing? Are we going to do that every year?
Somehow the Panthers are going under the radar. Like, I'm loving it. Like, the NHL is doing their rankings, and they rank Sam Bennett as the 20th best center in the league. I'm like, you're kidding me. So
it's like, please feed me fuel on my quest for a three-peat. Like, please. At this point, it's like Carolina hasn't won a conference finals game in the past, like, 20 conference finals games they've been in. Like, Tampa is Tampa. Like, you got to give Tampa the respect. They won the time. And that's what's crazy is because y'all and Tampa have been such a rivalry, and it's like both of y'all beat each other and got cups on the board. Like, that's multiple cups on the board. So that's definitely been a crazy run. But, yeah, I mean, Like, I mean, no matter what, you win one, you're a legendary team. You win two, like you're already certified then as an all-time team back to back. I think I told you this is a joke. I hope that your first two cups in franchise history don't go like the Flyers' first two did, because it's been 50 years since we won a Stanley Cup. They won back to back in the 70s and ain't won anything since. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely, like, I mean, and just being aggressive, like going out to get Marchand is like hey, we're trying to win this again. Like, we're not waiting, we're not resting on our laurels and like letting our competition get better. It's like, no, we're actively making moves here to win and be aggressive.
You have to. And it was, like you said, nothing is ever as easy to look. We were down 2-1 to the Maple Leafs and stuff like that. And like we said, hockey, Carolina beat Washington. Washington had given us fits. Like, Ovechkin turned the clock a little bit.
Yeah, big time.
I was scared of Washington. And then, naturally I was scared of the Oilers, but it was just so good beating McDavid. We're not just beating them, destroying them like we did. Like, we gifted them the game one where we throw the puck in the restricted area, and it was closer than it is. Of course, in hindsight, talking trash.
It was game two. You broke their will in game two. They never really recovered from it. It was when that overtime.
It was like the 2011 series with the Spurs and 2013 with the 2014 with the Spurs and the Heat. Like, once they let us see blood, it was just like they're still doing the same thing. They're running the same play over and over. They're just like, Draisaitl, McDavid, go win this one. I was like, yeah, y'all can't do this.
If they were up, it's crazy. I mean, they could against both teams. That's what's crazy. Is it's like, but yeah, once you were up 1-0, like they just had, because you're right. Once you lose the championship, it does become a mental game a little bit, where it's like, that's with y'all, it's house money. Like, even if y'all had lost last year, it's like, okay, we're even. It's house money. Like, once there was that little bit of blood in the water, because it wasn't even close towards the end, and that's what it was. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like, for its success for you Oilers fans, in complete hell right now, like, absolutely brutal, losing back to back. Like, I've seen enough of my teams lose finals over the year. Like that I mean, that was going into the Eagles Chiefs. Like that was the one. Is just like, I don't want to lose to the Chiefs again, man. Like, I don't want to lose to the Chiefs again. Like, especially after the way the first one ended, and thankfully don't have to deal with that problem. All is well, but the redemption chances are rare. It's hard to just even get back again and to get that chance against the same team. And so to strike out twice, like it is, it's because you don't know when you're gonna get back. Like, you talk about growing up and watching sports, like that is the one thing. Like, you always, you get eliminated as a kid, you go, oh, they're gonna be back. Like, that was always the thing with the Eagles in the 2000s. Like, oh, they'll be back at some point. The Flyers were always good in the 2000s. Oh, they'll be back. They'll definitely get over the hump. And then they just like don't. Sometimes you may never get that shot again. Like, you really got to take advantages of those situations when you're there.
Well, you know how sports fans are. We believe the most ridiculous stuff, and I swear by it. Time will tell in the future. But I don't know if you remember, Kev, last year, they asked the Oilers coach, I forget his name, but because we had just came off of losing the finals, the Stanley Cup the year before, right? And they're like, oh, do you have a disadvantage because the Panthers just came back? And he was like, well, ask Buffalo what type of advantage they had. And now I was like, I wouldn't want to compare anybody. I don't want to speak things like that at the press conferences. And now they've lost 2 straight. And I love it too. I know we've been all over the place in this a long time. Keep losing Buffalo. That's why I can't hate Mahomes and the Chiefs, because they keep beating Buffalo. I'm just like, yo, I love it every time. Josh Allen has haunted me. People don't remember Josh Allen. There was questions on if he was the guy, because
for sure
his first 2 years he sucked. You know who he never sucked against, Kev? The Dolphins. He was tearing us up. He was the Dolphins are the single reason why the Bills still had hope for Josh Allen, because they was just like, well, look what he does versus the Dolphins. If he could just do that versus everybody else, now he's doing it versus everybody else. But everybody's like, man, Josh Allen is so good. When did he get good? And I'm just like, this is Josh Allen I've always seen. Like, I didn't watch him in Wyoming, but ever since I've known this guy, it was just like I went from Brady to this damn guy. And it doesn't help that, Lamar Jackson is a South Florida guy, and all the Dolphin fans want him. So you see Lamar Jackson that you root for in Baltimore. You got Josh Allen, go from Brady to Josh Allen, and I love Tua, but he can't stay healthy. Like, it's just like, we're just in quarterback hell, because no disrespect to it, but you have a South Florida guy, like you said, with Brandon Graham. I believe I read that he was a Philly fan growing up. it just feels better when it's a hometown kid. That's why you wanted, what was it, Mikal Bridges or Miles Bridges?
Yeah, Mikal Bridges was the perfect dude. He was literally grew up as a Sixers fan. His mom worked for the organization, Carlton. It was the most of all the unforgivable things the Sixers have done over the past 10 years. I still maintain that is unquestionably the most that trade never made sense. It didn't even make sense at the time. We punted for another year in the future, and we didn't need to. He was the perfect fit. Oh, yeah.
I said the same thing with us. Like, I know people can say hindsight and stuff like that. You know, running quarterbacks are hit and miss from college to pros, but Lamar Jackson was always good.
Lamar.
If you go back and look at that Louisville team,
he was dumb.
Yeah, and it's just like you need a quarterback. You have the hometown kid who asked to get him. The owner wanted Lamar Jackson, and that's the thing. Like, you know, people get on Jerry Jones. I know you love him and hate him because he's your rival and stuff like that. But if I'm gonna spend billions on an organization, you know what? If we're gonna lose because of me. Dang it! So like, if the owner wanted Lamar Jackson, I just wish Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, was just like, no, it's my team. We're getting them. Like, things are so different. So it's just like, and then of course he's as good as advertised. It's like he's, you know, of course you want to see it in the playoffs, and he needs to get past Buffalo, but Lamar Jackson has been a successful pick. Was it the last pick in the first round? Like, that's ridiculous.
He's multiple MVP already. Like, yeah, it's I do think it's a little bit, and I think Lamar's playoff failures are overstated. I think they're very overstated, honestly. Word to Mark Andrews dropping multiple key passes last year in the playoffs when they would have beat Buffalo. Like, but I do think with the AFC, and it's hard to fully ever rule Kansas City out. I know they got smoked by us in the Super Bowl, but like the earliest they've gone out is the AFC Championship. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. But we talk about like proven things for guys in the NBA. Josh and Lamar got to get over the hump this year. Like, you got to at least get to the bowl. Like, it's time. These teams are good. Like, you're just like, in my opinion, Baltimore especially, I think is probably the most complete roster in the AFC right now. Like, you unfortunately don't have the luxury of the Eagles, and that's why I am more bullish, as I said earlier, on a repeat, is because I think the NFC just isn't that good. Like, Washington now has questions with Scary Terry. You got to see if I do think Jaden Daniels is great, but it's like the defense got older. Terry's not in camp.
I think Jaden Daniels takes a CJ Stroud sophomore slump. We've seen it too many times. These quarterbacks take sophomore slumps. RG3, like Andrew Luck, we keep seeing it. Like, why are we gonna keep falling for that? Like, and I like Jaden Daniels and stuff. He was a hell of a quarterback, but he takes the sophomore slump. We keep seeing it. You know.
Yeah, you're right. We have to see him not do it. I mean, beyond that, like, we'll see if the Niners are healthy. That receiver room is a mess. If Rams are healthy, I give the Rams a lot of credit. They hit a lot on their picks last year. The Rams were the closest to beating us last year. I mean, when Puka catches that pass falling out of bounds, like, Jalen Carter saved the season. People forget that. Like, Stafford on that play had a receiver wide open in the middle on the slant. They were killing us over the middle on slants that game in the snow. Like, you want to talk, like, forget Washington, forget Kansas City. The team who had it closest to beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl run, it was the Rams by far. It wasn't even close.
And you mentioned snow. It's not an advantage, but it's also not a disadvantage. You always got to be scared of Green Bay, because who wants to play in this negative 13-degree weather if they get a whole field? It's like, it's so ridiculous that franchise will not build a dome. Like, I'm not even in the NFC, Kevin. I get pissed off every time I think about it. Like, build a dome. Like, 2 years ago
but it's not football weather, Carlton. That's what they're going to tell you every time. It's not football weather.
The Dolphins lost to the Chiefs 2 years ago, and it was the coldest game ever. But what's more ridiculous about that is, you remember they delayed, I think it was the Bills and Ravens game that they delayed 5 days, and that game was warmer than the game we played. And I'm like, you guys delayed a warmer game.
No, dude, that game, our guy Russell
Tua
Colburn
can't play in the cold. Tua can't throw in the cold. Who's throwing in negative 13-degree weather? Like,
our guy Russell Colburn went to that game. He was at that game. He's out in KC now. He tried to tell me it wasn't that bad, and I was like, my brother, I watched a water bottle instantly freeze as it came out of the freezer. Like, I don't care how many beers you got in the parking lot. Like, it was negative 40. You're 100% right. There's no planet they should have been playing that game. People got frostbite at that game. Like, what are we doing? Like, what?
You
I
have
don't
a
know.
team from Miami, and here's the thing. I know we gotta go, Kev. This is two friends talking. I will never forgive the NFL because they quote unquote wanted to keep rivalry. So when the Houston Texans came into the league, I don't know if people ever think about it, but you have New England, Buffalo, New York Jets, and then Miami. And you send the Indianapolis Colts to the division with the Jags, the Texans,
I mean,
and
bro,
who else is it? Like why? So I'm pissed every year. It's just like, oh, Tua can't play in the Colts. Like, why are we going to Buffalo and New York in December? Like, why are we in this damn division? And meanwhile, I see Jacksonville and the Texans and stuff. I'm looking at them, and that division has been wide open for years. And Tennessee, I'm like, we should be in this division. Like, I get mad. And then I keep playing MVP caliber quarterbacks. I had to watch Brady my whole career. Now I gotta watch Josh Allen. Like, I shouldn't even be in this division. Who should I be playing, Kev? Trevor Lawrence. Like, that's who I need to be going against. Give me him.
I hear you.
I mean, Josh Allen.
It's the same thing with our rivalry, low key. I mean, nobody really complains about it because we've been on the right side of it. But it's like you crack up. You look at the NFC East. The NFC East, you got Philly, New York, and DC, which are a combined 5 hours apart from each other. And then we got Dallas. We have Dallas. You go down to Jerry World. Dallas is no. It would take me 2 days to drive to Dallas if I started driving to Dallas right now. Like, it's just. And what was even crazier is if you even think about it, back in the day, we had Arizona for the longest time until when they had 5 teams. You had Arizona playing in the East every year. It was just, you gotta love it.
It's so ridiculous. And then you got Buffalo fans and New York fans talking about some. Oh, well, sometimes we have to go to New York. Oh, I'm sorry, bummer. I have to go play in 82. I have to leave 28 degrees to go play in 82. Like, is that a disadvantage? Like, get out of here.
I'm telling you, the Dome Truthers, they're kind of onto something a little bit. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Drive Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Carlton KB, follow him on Twitter at Carlton_KB, like K and B, the letters K and B. Follow the Cologne page at Smell Good Chronicles. There's a lot of great stuff on there that Carlton and I will go next time he's back. We're going to talk even more in depth about that because I think it's electric right now. Just for some housekeeping notes, we're going to have another guest next week. Justin is actually still on vacation. I promise everything is good. He'll be back soon. But so stay tuned for that. We're going to talk a little bit of schedule release. So stay tuned for that on your feeds, and we will catch you guys next time.